This is going to be a quick detailed install video of the cheap Chinese diesel heater. These are about 150 US dollars. This is the 8 kilowatt version.
We're talking about unprecedented heat.
I'm going to go ahead and go over all the parts real quick and then we'll get right into this install. This is the muffler. The silver line here is the exhaust pipe. The black line is the intake pipe. This is the intake air filter. You got the thermostat that mounts to the wall. This is a remote that operates the thermostat. You have the fuel pump right here. This is some fuel line. You have the wiring harness. This is a T for the vents. This is the mounting plate for the unit to sit on. You also got some of the venting right here. I have another stick of that. And this is the 10-liter fuel tank. Sorry to interrupt. This is me in the future, about 4 or 5 weeks after installing this heater. I found out a pretty serious issue that they don't mention in the instructions of this heater. It could have actually caught this whole entire camper on fire while I was sleeping at night. Anyways, I was lucky, nothing happened, and I did correct the issue, but I just want to make sure you guys know this for your own safety. So stick around, make sure you pay attention to what I'm talking about when I chime back in on this video a little bit later, and just be safe when you're installing, and if you're not comfortable with installing it yourself, contact a professional. This is the closet it's going to go into. The old heater used to go down here. This is an old truck camper, like a slide-in truck camper. Nice. So the outside of the RV is actually right here. This goes into where the truck bed is. I already did my pre-measurements outside, which the pre-planning part I think takes longer than the actual install. So make sure you pre-plan a few things out before you just start cutting holes. The heater itself is going to set right here, and the heater will blow out into the RV in this direction, and this has enough air around it for this to, you know, pull some air into as needed. I'm going to drill a pilot hole to make sure that I'm not in the wrong spot, and then I'm going to cut one big 4-inch hole out instead of a bunch of separate holes. I think it's right there. Okay, here's the hole. That should screw down right there. Because everything's going to be so hard to reach, we're going to go ahead and assemble everything up top. They have this hole here in order to run the fuel line through, and then it's supposed to come back and around and right here. I don't really want to do that. I'm going to do it a little bit differently, so I don't want any kind of air or exhaust coming back up through this hole. So what I'm going to do is take some of this aluminum ductwork tape, and I'm going to cover that. I'm going to cover on this side as well. That should be good enough. So this goes there. These nuts are to screw down here. There's no need for washers. They already have the grooves so they don't back themselves out. I would say just use your best judgment. You want them snug, but you don't want exhaust coming through. You don't want to strip them out. So it says exhaust pipe. That's the side we're going to put it on. Man, that is a snug, that's a snug fit. Gotta do the intake, the air intake. Now we need to do the fuel line. So this fuel line is obviously too small to fit over that. So what we're supposed to do is cut this. This fuel line is going to go into this. I hear if you put this in boiling water, it makes it easier. So the hot water trick does work. It's boiling hot water. It does help slide everything on a lot easier. You use that black line as your connection point since this line is too small. So the black line is flexible and that fits over this fitting, and your hose fits into the black line, which is very tight. Then you put your air filter on, and then we're gonna tighten it down. The air intake I'll push down. The fuel line, I already drilled a hole here off to the side. So the fuel line's gonna go down, but it'll come up right here because I'm gonna put the fuel pump inside. There it is. So I got the exhaust coming out right here. Okay, this is the part of the video I was wrong. Instead of running it right here between the truck bed and the truck camper, later in the evening of this video, I had that heater running all night, and I woke up in the morning to find out that this metal was so hot that it could have actually caught the plywood that's behind it or above it on fire, and it actually melted the truck bed a little bit. I took the truck camper off and I ordered a couple things from Amazon, one of which is this longer exhaust pipe, and I was able to run it down here away from everything so it doesn't get anything around here hot. I fabricated my own exhaust hangers, and then I ran it out under this bathroom and exhausted it out of the rear of the camper. I also purchased a heat reflective material that's right here, and it folds up and goes inside and under the entire heater, because I noticed that right under the heater gets very hot. I don't know if it's because this exhaust pipe is just radiating heat upwards or if it's the actual bottom of the heater itself getting hot, but I feel a lot better with this heat reflective material on there. And all this stuff, I'll put links in the description. They're not affiliate links. I don't get any kickbacks or anything from them, but at least you'll know kind of what I used. I also mounted the intake right here and made sure that the fuel line, everything was as far as possible from the actual exhaust pipe, so there's not any radiating heat that comes over and melts anything. Doing these self-tapping screws that have a little rubber washer on them. That's what's holding this all down. So the fuel pump, where the clip is at, the direction of the fuel goes this direction, and it needs to be at about a 30-degree angle going uphill, and that prevents any kind of bubbles from forming right here. I'm going to need to find a place like right here where it's tilted up a little bit, but yet the fuel pump needs to go in line too. This is the direction of the fuel. It goes that direction. So the cap is on the outlet side, but this does need to go between the tank and the pump, which is where I'm having problems. So I'm going to try this. I don't believe that it suggests that you do this, but I don't have a lot of room, so I'm going to. And apparently you don't need crimps right here, or these clamps right here, which it's not really going to be under pressure, so I guess they're right. I had to run the fuel line. I went ahead and just decided to go with this setup. This is not necessarily recommended with the fuel filter right next to the fuel pump, but I've yet to really see anybody else do it, so maybe it'll help with the rattling and the knocking sound, because this pump is actually very loud. I'm going to end up soundproofing this little area as much as I can to keep the sound from bothering me while I'm trying to sleep. But I think a lot of the other problem is this hard line, and when the pump ticks like this and it moves the line. So wherever the line is at, I feel like it's going to be making all sorts of racket. What I decided to do is I ran 1/2-inch PEX, like this PEX water line like this. So I ran that down into where I needed to go, which was back here, and then it runs here next to the water heater, and I ran it out the front, which is where the fuel tank's going to be. And this will also, you know, I'm thinking this will prevent that line from rattling around and hitting other pipes and making all sorts of racket, because the fuel line is inside this PEX line, so it's very straight. It might dull the sound, it might make it worse, but we will see. I'm gonna caulk around that hole on the inside and outside. Now we have the fuel line ran, now we need to set up the fuel tank. We need to run this through the bottom of the fuel tank. There's this little square spot, there's a couple of them, and you just got to pick the one that's on the bottom for you, depending on which way you have your tank setting. Mine's gonna be set like this, so I'm gonna want that to go down through the bottom. 5/16 drill bit is the way to go. I'll make sure all the plastic pieces are out. Now, in order to get that through, I have just some regular wire here. I'm gonna fish that wire up to the top of the tank. I put the little one of the washers on first. Then you run this through, and then I'm just gonna bend this over so it holds it, and then I'm gonna run that through the tank. Comes out right there, and then we can just pull the wire and it's ready to install this washer. And then there's this nut that goes on that. So I decided to mount the gas can on the outside of the truck camper right here, because my truck actually fills up right here and it's diesel. And then I can just take this cap off and fill this up, and I can see the level of it. And it's real easy to see instead of hiding it in a cabinet. So I know even before I even leave to go camping how full my diesel tank is for this heater. I ran which is a little too late to see now, but I ran that pipe out back here, and this is the fuel line. It curves up. Here's another one of those black hoses with the hose clamps. There's spots just to put the screws that you're not drilling a hole through the actual tank. This tank shouldn't go anywhere. And now I just gotta undo the cap, fill it up, and I'm good to go. And it's kind of protected from the weather. We're gonna do this wiring harness. So this is the thermostat. Triangle, triangle. Snaps in, no problem. This one is for the fuel pump, which has this kind of crazy metal safety thing on it. You just have to push that in, slide it over your plug on your pump, and that locks into place. This last plug plugs into the heater. And it can only go in one way. And then all you have left is your power and your ground. So you need to be able to get all the diesel up to this pump. So in order to do that, there's a priming mode. So you press this little wrench and this right arrow, and it says H off. Well, you want to then now press this left arrow, and you'll see the little pump icon come up. And it's going to take a very long time to get the diesel up there, but I'll come back when we finally get it primed. Now a little bit of diesel sitting in this tank. There's a little bit of bubbles blowing through that line. It hasn't quite made it through the pump yet. There we go, now it has. So I think it's safe to go ahead and shut it off, which is just this button on the right. Now if we just want to turn the heater on, you just press this on button and you'll see it, the little fan turn on. These little arrows going back and forth. It's puffing some smoke, but that's apparently normal because there's a lot of fuel in that system. Yeah, so it's going to burn off that excess fuel. And that should go away here shortly. You can hear the pump running. It's pretty loud, but hopefully when I soundproof this room, it'll be better. And we got hot air. That's a lot of hot air. I have it cranked up pretty much as high as it'll go, but you can set the temperature you want it set to. And as it needs less heat to get it up to temperature, it'll start slowing down. You can hear the pump slowing down. And the fan slows down. And then if you need to go up and it needs to chase that temperature faster, then you can hear everything start speeding back up again. And the heat starts coming out harder.
Is it hot in here? I feel hot. Are you guys hot?